Today we are welcoming Nick Mather, Executive Director of SolGold. Hi Nick.
Pleasure.
Nick, market conditions could not be tougher at the moment. Are you worried about the copper price?
No, not at all worried about the copper price. What goes down eventually comes up, and we're seeing the beginnings of what the Chinese plan is a population explosion in China with the lifting of the one-child rule. That's going to increase copper demand over the next 1 or 2 decades. The world's mining companies need to plan for that. So the copper price, we believe, will recover steadily. That's what we like to see. We don't want to see anything spiking too hard, but it'll recover.
So what has happened since we last saw you?
The most important thing, Rosie, is that we've discovered that the Trevinio prospect, about 1 kilometre north of Alpala North, is probably part of the same system. It now outcrops, as far as we can map it, over about 300 by 300 metres, and it's getting bigger all the time. We've got rock saw sampling going on at it at the moment, and we would expect results to start flowing from that over the next month. The other thing that's really important is that we can now see that this system covers about 2 square kilometres of surface footprint, and down to 1800 metres or even deeper, that's going to hold a very big volume of mineralised rock. So we're getting about the 3-dimensional modelling of this system, and that's the first stage in being able to come up with an inferred resource, which we're still hoping to do within the next 6 months. The third point I want to stress is that there's evidence emerging continually of Ecuador being a go-to nation for explorers and miners, and I would expect in the next week or 2 to see some significant developments between the government and Lundin Mining in respect of the Fruta del Norte project, which will further endorse Ecuador as a great country to be exploring and mining in.
What differentiates this project from other big porphyries?
The most important thing about Cascabel is that it's got a multiplicity of targets. We've defined 10 targets on the whole Cascabel tenement at the moment. Alpala is the only one that we've drill tested so far. There's no reason to believe that it will be the only one with intersections over 1 kilometre long with very high grades of copper and gold. So it looks like we've got a cluster of porphyry systems here that could potentially all be very high grade. We're seeing as the copper grades get up over 1% copper that the gold grade starts to exceed it by more than a factor of 2 when you're comparing percent copper to grams of gold. So it's a very rich system. Importantly, that's going to give us development options, so we can start looking at developments which will be underground, low capital, high grade, and give us very quick return on invested capital, and then enable us to stash away equity for the next stage, higher tonnage of the development options. So hopefully this project will be self-funding, and that'll mean that we won't have to continually swamp the market with exhaustive equity issues. The next most important thing is that Cascabel, in comparison to a lot of the Chilean high Andean porphyry projects, apart from its gold credits, has great logistics. It's low, you don't need oxygen tanks to breathe there, you don't need to build a water pipeline, you don't need to build a highway, you don't need to build a desalination plant, and you don't need to build a power plant. This could save us up to $3 billion when it comes to the capital development costs of a very large copper-gold porphyry system in this part of Ecuador.
What are the core challenges facing this Cascabel project?
The main challenge that we're facing at the moment, Rosie, is that people perceive this to be a deep ore body. In fact, it's an ore body that outcrops its surface. Our deep intersections are designed to show the very great depth extent of this system, and it gets wider and richer as we go down. So the Cascabel ore body is not one that is just deep, it also outcrops. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we need to increase the flow of data to the market, so we're looking at getting a third rig, which will further increase the cost efficiency and the speed with which we can get results to the market and our shareholders and investors. The third challenge is to demonstrate to the market that we're not going to necessarily have to go on doing endless share issues to finance the exploration and development of this project. Because we have a very high-grade core, we're able to look at stage development processes for this project, and that will mean that we'll be able to get away with fewer and smaller share capital issues than we otherwise might have if we were just looking at a very large low-grade system.
SolGold has an aggressive drilling programme for 2016. Is your outlook optimistic?
It's very optimistic because now we are defining the third dimension to this system. It's not only long, as we've defined over the past year or two over the Alpala structural zone, and has a very great depth extent from surface down to 1,800 metres, and we believe deeper than that and richer as it goes down. But we're also beginning to see that it has some very significant width. So we're getting intersections that show that at around about 1 kilometre depth it has a true width of approximately 300 to 350 metres, and it's open to the northeast, so we're expecting it to get much wider again, and ultimately we think that that 2 square kilometre footprint will largely cover significantly mineralised rock, and that's going to give us potentially a very, very large high-grade resource.
Thanks, Nick. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much.